Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is tarikaremba, you know the vibes already. Welcome to another chit chat, get ready with me. And of course, today is actually day 4 of Vlogtober. So yeah, we're doing Vlogtober. We're posting every day for the month of October, and I don't wanna lie guys, it's a lot of pressure, but like we're here now. So of course today's Vlogtober video is going to be a chatty get ready with me, and today we're gonna be talking about how like good girls finish last, or like don't get the corner office, or what, however it is you relate to that statement, because I don't know, as a good girl myself, I definitely see how it has impacted sort of like any personal and professional progress. And this year for me has definitely been a year in which I've been trying to just like live life differently, do things differently, piss some people off along the way, but ultimately sort of chase the life that I want and show up for myself differently, you know, than I've been doing the last 28 years. Okay, so of course we're gonna do this makeup look while we talk about it. So yeah, all the products will be listed down below if you want to know what I use for this or what the shade is. Yeah, so I hope you enjoy it, hope you find it useful. Comment down below and let me know how you feel about this whole being a good girl thing that is required of us in this society. But yeah, remember to comment, like, and subscribe. Let's get into it. Okay guys, so let's get into it. We're gonna start off with eyeshadow. Because I'm using blue, and blue is one of those colors for me that like I'm just like scared of. So let's start with that. So we're going in with the Player palette from Revlon. So there's a blue in here that I think can, but yeah guys, let's just see where things go. So anyway, let's get into our topic. Okay, so I feel, right, as someone who generally identifies as a good girl, I don't know, I guess, you know, if you don't agree with that, that's fine, that's your opinion. But like, as for me and my house, I definitely identify as like someone who is a good girl, right? And by that I mean just like someone who is like agreeable and like, you know, follows the rules, does things by the book, you know. That is like what I mean when I say I generally identify as a good girl. Okay, so maybe, yeah, just to clarify, maybe that's like what I mean. But anyway, the reason I want to talk about this, right, is like I feel, and I've also seen a lot of discourse about this on the internet, that like there are a lot of people out there that feel the same way I feel, and just like I feel like we are sold this like dream maybe that like, yeah, if you follow the rules and you do the right thing and you blah blah blah, the whole good girl spiel that I'm sure everyone has heard, right? You will be successful and things will be good for you and this and this and this, but like baby, it don't feel like that. It doesn't feel like that at all. If anything, I feel like being a so-called good girl has only gotten me hurt, used, looked over, and I don't know, I just don't think Gingy is know about that. Like, I'm not, it's just something I don't recommend, guys. I just don't recommend it anymore. I don't see the point of just trying to be that person in a world where people like that are just taken advantage of. And yeah, but also I'm not saying that like now you need to change yourself and, you know, whatever. No, if you like it, I love it at the end of the day, right? But I'm just saying that like I just feel like there's a whole lot of emphasis in our cultures and in our society about how you need to be a good girl or a good woman and, you know, all of that. And I don't know, man, I feel like well-behaved women don't make history. Well-behaved women don't flourish. the way that, I don't know, don't always flourish. Don't get me wrong. I feel like there are people who are just like lucky in this life and like things just like sort of go a certain way for them, and that's great. However, I don't think that applies to like everybody. And yeah, obviously that frustrates me. So yeah, and I'm talking about this just like in general. I feel like I have been burnt in all areas of life. Like I'd say like career / academic wise, friendships, family, relationships. Like, so I'm not even like one of those people who's like, yeah, because a nigga did this to me, baby, this is bigger than some guy who was just like trash. Like, yeah, so it's not even about that. Don't get it twisted. It's just like, in general, these are my sentiments about this whole situation. I haven't done blue eyeshadow in a while, so I'm just like, interesting. But anyway, so I feel like it's unfortunate that, like, you know, we live in a society that really like pressures women into sort of like putting on that persona or living that life of, like I said, just like trying to be a good woman, trying to be, you know, yeah, mskanaka hai te chakati hapeke manini haende kwakati anenda kuchechi, which is great. I mean, church is great. I go to church. I love to go to church, right? However, I just feel like there's just this like indoctrination that sort of happens, and the false sort of promise of like goodness and like, I wouldn't say goodness and mercy, but just like good things happening to you because of that, and that's not true. I feel like good things are gonna happen regardless, because I mean there's so many horrible people that we all know out there who still flourish despite maybe not being good people or like being horrible people or whatever. And that just like speaks to this whole chat of like, I don't know, I feel like if you have things that you want to do in this life, right, do them. Don't not do you just because you're trying to like look like you're a good person, or you're trying to like please society, please your family and all of that. And like, I get it. I'm not trying to encourage people to go against their families either. And I feel like the way I'm saying this is probably coming out all wrong. I also feel like it's like a tactic that is used like to get women to like play small and just like doubt themselves in a male dominated world. Because I mean, men are unapologetic about the things that they say and do as long as they think that's like good for themselves or their futures. But it's us, we are the ones who are now taught to like consider everyone else and just like not do or say certain things because like, oh, you know, what if they take it the wrong way? It might be considered rude, blah blah blah. But like, you never see men shying away from like serious conversations or setting boundaries just because like, oh, you know, what will people say? Like, that's not a good thing to do or whatever. Like, men are unapologetically themselves, and they are selfish, and they do whatever works for them. And I feel like as women, we need to jump on that bandwagon, because honestly, all it gets you is used and abused, guys. Like, granted, sometimes it does work out for people, but I feel like for the most part, like, setting boundaries and knowing what you want, how you want to be treated, whether that's in the workplace with your friends, doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you a person who knows what they want, knows how they want to be treated, and communicates that to the necessary people. And it's really unfortunate that like whenever women sort of, especially black women, try to sort of like enforce these boundaries or set these boundaries, like they're starting to be viewed as like aggressive. Yeah, so sometimes people start like viewing you as aggressive or like labeling you as aggressive or disrespectful or whatever, especially in the African context. Yeah, you're disrespectful as hell if you do that. However, it just goes back to the whole thing of like, if me setting a boundary makes me disrespectful, then that's a problem, because why do you as society or as people or whatever want to feel so comfortable pitting me down? So yeah, I know it can be hard to sort of like find that balance between maybe like communicating your needs and like coming off a certain way, but I guess maybe that's where things like tone and word choice come into play, because I think especially when you know that like that is how people are like gonna look at you, like that's the default, I guess there's also nothing wrong with being strategic in the words you use and the tone that you use, because at the end of the day you don't want that something that you could have controlled to sort of like, I don't know, just complicate things further, you know? So yeah, no, but ultimately there's nothing wrong with communicating your boundaries, your needs, being assertive, all of that. Like, it is your right to be assertive. It is your right to communicate your needs. It is your right to, you know, be able to ensure that like you are also doing what you can to make sure that you're getting the treatment you deserve, the opportunities you deserve, etc. Because yeah, closed mouths also don't get fed. Like, and I think that's something that I am waking up to in this season of my life. That there's so many things that I sort of counted myself out of, because I was just trying to be nice. I was just trying to be understanding. I was just trying to be, you know, considerate of people. But it's like, I don't know, like I said, you need to sort of draw the line and know where those boundaries sort of start and end for you. So yeah, guys, I don't know, I feel like there's something I remembered the other day, and I was just like, damn, like I really contributed to my own downfall. Well, it wasn't a downfall type situation, but yeah, I contributed to my own downfall by like doing this or like not doing this, because yeah, so it's not even that deep, but like I remember in like probably like Form 1 maybe. It's either Form 1 or grade 7. I don't really remember, because I was at the same school my whole life. So there are definitely things that are like blurred in terms of like, I don't remember if this was like when I was in high school, primary school, but anyway. So there's a time, it must have been Form 1 though. So we had like hockey, I don't say like tryouts, but it was like the first time we were doing hockey in high school, right? And obviously, like if you had come from like the primary school, I was a convent girls, shout out. But yeah, so obviously if you had come from like the primary school and you were continuing with hockey, they already had an idea of like some of the people they'd want on the team, etc. But obviously there were also like a lot of new people from other schools as well. So like that first sort of hockey day was one of those days where it's like you're doing like, I don't even know what to call them anymore, because girl, that was like a lifetime ago. But essentially it's like almost like a tryouts type situation where there are different things that they ask you to do so that they can see like what your capabilities are, and also like if you're on a team, where to better place, right? So on that day, right, I remember at that time we were like lined up, and this was like when we used to do like our hockey at Old Hararians, but apparently they now bought like a field or something, so I wonder if like that is where all the sports happens now. But anyway, so like so obviously y'all know like convent is in the middle of Harare, and there's no ground there, like there's no space for us to like do sports there. So there's some sports we could do there, like tennis and basketball and indoor hockey, but for all and swimming, but for all the other sports that we did, like squash, rugby, blah blah blah, field hockey, we at some point we were at Old Orions, and then at some point we were at Belgravia Sports Club. But now, like I said, I don't know what's been happening there since. But anyway, so we were lined up to hit these balls, right? So that they could see like how good your hitting is. Like, can you even do this? And I hit like the perfect ball, y'all. Like, that ball went so far away. Mrs. Burns, who was one of the hockey coaches at the time, was like, brilliant ball. Whoever hit that ball, come and see me now. Because it's like, we were like 5 rows like this. So like, she was watching the one side. I think it was 5 or 6 rows. So she was watching the one side, and then someone else was watching the other side, right? And then when they liked what they saw or whatever, they would like ask you to like come to them. They would take note of it, and then, you know, yeah, whatever they do in the future. But anyway, so I hit that ball, right? But then I was scared of Mrs. Burns, guys. From like junior school, yo, that woman scared me. But also, she was the first team hockey coach. And I was like, I mean, I know I did good, but like, do I even qualify? Like, I feel like there's people out there who are better than me. Maybe I should just like not say anything. So yeah, of course I didn't say anything, and then like that just kind of died like that until some time in like, I think Form 3, when I remember we were playing hockey at Chizzy, and I was on the second team. I was on the second team for hockey. And I played defense. I was center back or sweeper or right back. Like, those are the positions I was comfortable in, right? So we were at Chizzy, and then the team was like man down, and then the coach was like, yo, at that time we had some man. But yeah, he was like, yeah, I've seen how you play when we're practicing and in games. I think that you would make a great replacement, since we're like a person down, right? And this was even for a wing position, not even like my usual position. But I was like, yeah, sure, why not, right? And for that game, I played with the first team, and it was so amazing, and I really enjoyed myself, and I was like, wow, like, I can't believe I'm so capable of doing this, right? And then it just got me thinking to like how like this is actually something I could have been doing all this time if I hadn't counted myself out, right? So I feel like sometimes this whole like being a nice girl thing also sort of like encourages you to consider others, but also like to play small in a way that like sometimes you count yourself out, where it's like, no, like you deserve to be here just as much as anybody else, right? Like, there's absolutely no reason under the sun for you to be playing small or not doing something that you know like you would excel at or be excellent at. So yeah, that's just like one of like many examples of situations I found myself in where I was just like playing small and all of that, when I knew that actually, well, now I know that actually it could have worked, y'all. Like, I should not have counted myself out the way I did, but obviously we're here now. But yeah, that whole thing of like, you know, being like that aspect of like, you know, being a good girl or whatever, like, it just leaves you in a position where you're watching other people like living your dream life because you decided, no, like, let me give someone else a chance, or like, no, it's okay, like, I don't mind, it's okay, I can do it for you, it's okay, you know, I understand, I'll stay in this position a bit longer, etc., etc. Like, if that is not what you want for yourself, why are you just like being nice and understanding and just like trying to be everything for everyone but not you? And when I say this, I'm speaking to myself too. Like, I'm not just, you know, being a terrorist. I am calling myself out too in all of this, to be honest. I mean, that also just like goes to like learning to say no, and learning that it's okay to say no. Like, just because someone asked you to do something, or, you know, just because you also see that like if you say no, like they're gonna be in a tight spot or whatever, again, it's not your obligation to be everything for everyone. Like, I feel like we're so conditioned to be nurturing sometimes that like it ends up being so detrimental to us and the things that we want or don't want. So yeah, I think that's also like another thing that comes with like trying to not be a good girl who finishes last. Like, it's okay to say no. Another thing that I was also just like, you know, thinking about is how I sometimes struggle with the transition from girlhood to womanhood and how that affects the manner in which we allow ourselves to sort of show up and not play small, and also like sort of changes what showing up as a good girl sort of looks like for us. Because I think when we are younger, of course, there's so much influence as to what's acceptable, what's not, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, and so on, which is fine. But I think there definitely comes a time where you have to sort of figure out like what does being maybe an active member of, I don't know, like a good friend look like to you? What kind of boundaries do you have? Like a good daughter, a good sibling, a good co-worker, all of those things, right? And I think sometimes, like, I definitely, again, see it in myself. Sometimes I definitely think some of the struggles that I face when it comes to like this whole thing is just like that transition from girlhood to womanhood, because I feel like, you know, when you're a woman, you have more sort of independence, more power, more autonomy over decisions that you make. But I think that realization kicks in too late for a lot of people, because I mean, even when I look at people like in their 30s and 40s talking about like how freeing it is to be there, I think you know, for some of the things that they talk about, it's very much giving you know, they went through a season where they sort of realized that like, actually, I'm a woman now, I can say this, or I can do this, or I can make these kinds of decisions about my life without having to consider everyone else before me, without having to compromise what I want, etc. Right? So I think that whole thing is also something that you also need to tap into, like giving yourself permission to tap into that transition from girlhood to womanhood. So yeah, I would say like just like thinking about that has just made me realize that, like, you know what, it's okay. It's made me realize that like I also need to give myself permission to do and say things. Like, it's okay to be ambitious, it's okay to be assertive, it's okay to be unapologetic about the life that I want, the person I want to be, the things I want to do. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And honestly, anyone who has a problem with that is an is an op and an enemy of progress. And honestly, someone who is an agent of the patriarchy, even if they are even if they are female, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with prioritizing yourself, your needs, your goals, putting yourself first, doing what you know is best for you, even if it might not be like what's best for like other people or what like people are encouraging you to do. Because at the end of the day, babes, it's your life to live, it's your decisions to make. Like, I think especially looking at people in like older generations, like people who would be like our grandparents' ages, for example, I think especially among the women there is a lot of sort of regret about not being more assertive, or like certain sort of decisions that they felt that they could not make, of which at the time, of course, like it was definitely hard to make certain decisions. I mean, they couldn't even have their own bank accounts, you know? So there are things like that that I completely understand that the way society was set up at the time contributes, right? But just like, you know, sometimes when you speak to someone older and they have regrets about like situations in which they didn't put themselves first, or like prioritize like their own lives or what they knew they wanted out of life or whatever. And I think that we owe it to them and other women who came before us, who fought the good fight for us to even be in a position where we can have some form of autonomy over our lives, and we can make our own decisions and all of that. Like, I think, yeah. So yeah, we owe it to ourselves and we owe it to them to also make sure that we're showing up for ourselves, chasing our goals and our dreams and our hopes unapologetically in the way that they would have wanted to. Stop playing small and allow ourselves to show up as the best version of ourselves. Allow us to chase after our ambitions, set boundaries, goals, be assertive in a way that, you know, when you die, you can look back on life and be like, nah, man, I lived the life that I wanted to. I didn't do things because that's what was expected of me, or I didn't do things to make other people happy. I maintained respect for others, but I made sure to stick to my boundaries. So yeah, I know it ain't easy, girl, but you got this. And yeah, just remember to be kind to yourself in the process, because it's not like something that's going to change overnight. This is something you've probably done your whole life for 30 years or whatever. It's going to take a bit of time, but as long as you're actively working towards it and you are patient towards yourself and you don't give up or lose sight of what it is you want to achieve or do, it's only a matter of time until things sort of work out that way and you also start showing up for yourself the way you need to be. Okay guys, so this is the final look. I combed out the curls to see what that vibe would be. Kind of like her, kind of giving Tina Turner, I don't know. But anyway, this is the final look. But of course, just to close off the video, I guess, yeah, we're having conversations on this channel again. So of course, these are some of the things that, like, thoughts that will be running through my mind. So obviously, I want to know what you think about the situation. But yeah, ultimately, at the end of the day, like, live life the way you think is best for you. But obviously, I do hope that if you are someone who identifies as a good girl, you choose yourself. And of course, dare to break the mold. Like, people will get over it. It's okay. Anyway, remember to comment, like, and subscribe. I will catch you in the next one.